Hey there, everybody. Welcome back with the Plat. Purplatypus is the name. And today we are doing the definitive 100% factual tier list for Brotato. Now, we are going to be ranking all the characters that you see here. Now, before we get into it too far, you can see there's a character I don't have unlocked. Now, I'm not claiming to be the greatest professional of this game of all time. I have about 20 hours in the game. I've won the game multiple times on multiple difficulties, you know, from Danger 4, Danger 3, and 2. And so I have experience, but, you know, I haven't been alpha testing for 600 hours. But I've been having such a fun time with this game, and I thought this would be fun because this does two things. One, it gets my mindset out there, so I kind of get to talk things through and figure out how much I like things, but also it gives the audience a chance to ridicule me and be like, you're sleeping on this guy fucking, or this guy fucking sucks, you just think he's good because you're bad, or this guy's only bad because you're bad, he's actually great, that kind of stuff. So without further ado, we're gonna jump into it. I'm actually gonna do it in the order of the tier list so I don't get confused here, and we're gonna start with the Brawler. Now, I hate to start off like this, but I did just win my first run with the Brawler, only on Danger 1, though. This character has been, like, I mean, I was looking at their stuff, right? 50% attack speed with unarmed weapons. Unarmed weapons aren't very good. Now, the Brawler gets much better, in my opinion, after you've beaten the game with the Brawler once, because then you unlock the explosive fist that has like a 25% chance to explode when it hits things, and all melee weapons have piercing. So that's a really good weapon, but it is purple, so you're not even likely to find it. So primarily the entire time you're using fist or hand. And you're probably not going to be using hand that long. Hand is just nice for the early harvest. The minus 50 range is, it's only half as effective on melee, right? So this is like, I'm probably talking too much about this character. I don't think they're very good, but the upside is not great. The 50% attack speed with unarmed weapons and the 15% dodge is nice, but it's not great. And the minus 50 range isn't that bad. So this character is not that extreme in either way. Like I think if you could win with the well-rounded, you could win with the Brawler. If you just pretend the Brawler is the well-rounded, I think you could do just as good because the 15% dodge is pretty nice. The 50% attack speed with unarmed weapons is big, but I don't know, man. Unarmed weapons aren't that good. I mean, they can get the job done, but they're definitely not my favorite here. I would say that I'm gonna put him a little bit low. I think he's a bit weak. But I do think he does need a buff, and I think he needs a buff purely to help increase his identity a bit more. The 50% melee speed with unarmed weapons is neat, but I think he could use a little bit higher, like bigger drawbacks and more upside to kind of solidify him as an unarmed character. Next up, we've got the Entrepreneur. Let's go. Is there a way to keep both of these things up at the same time? Maybe, maybe not. No, we'll just keep switching. That's fine. Entrepreneur, minus 30% item price. Whoa. All harvesting modifications are increased by 50%. Whoa. 25% more materials from recycling items. Okay. That's pretty good. It's not like insane, but that's pretty good. But you lose all of your materials in between rounds, basically, at the start of a wave. So this would work with... This completely nullifies piggy bank, right? Because piggy bank gives you the money at the start of the way, or at the start of the way. So I think that if you got like an extra 100 with piggy bank, this would then take it away. I don't think it would let you carry it over. All damage modifications are reduced by 50%. Now, one thing to note, I don't think this includes because there's a stat. Is there a way to look at a thing? We could just jump right in though. You can see there's damage, right? I think it's specifically talking about this, not the melee ranged elemental, not these specifically. So like that's like bad, but it's actually it's not nearly as bad as it sounds, I think, because the damage modifications reduced by 50% means also the negative damage modifications are only half as bad, right? So your damage isn't going to get to like 200% as this character, but also if you're taking things like a good example is that ranged there's the it's like, is it ranged clip? It's like 10% attack speed, 25 range, and minus 10% damage. You only get minus 5% damage. So it's like, it could be an upside in that way. So, I mean, it's obviously it's overall a downside, but it's not that bad. 30% item prices. That is huge. The main way you gain power in this game is by buying items. More and more and more and more and more items. Because if you have 1,000 items, you're more powerful than when you had 500 items, you know? Every item makes you a little bit stronger. So being able to buy potentially 30% more items is very good. And the harvesting modifications is that's going to help you level up faster than most other characters. And it's going to help you get a lot more money over the course of a run. Overall, I think this character, as long as you don't like just die right in the beginning, because you know what you're doing a little bit, I think that this guy is straight up in the strong tier. I think he's an S tier character. Next up, we have Ghost. This one is the one I'm honestly probably more torn on than any other character in the game. 10 damage with ethereal weapons. Ethereal weapons are the ones where after they get X kills, you get a stat boost, right? There's speed, damage, and health. I actually like the health one on this guy quite a bit. 30% dodge, and you can get your dodge up to 90%. That's insane. But you have minus 100 armor. So you take about double damage, I think, plus 80%. It's a character that I won, and I don't even think I took a hit the entire time. And obviously that was all because of the dodge, not because I dodged everything manually. But I feel like this is kind of playing like a roulette. Like, you might not get hit at all, or you might get hit twice back to back and then just instantly explode, you know? High risk character, but with a huge amount of upside. The 10 damage on ethereal weapons is big, and 90%, like, you might not be able to like lose as this character. You might be able to do difficulty 5, defeat both bosses without ever getting hit, because this is pretty insane. But you might also die to some random enemy that hits you for twice as hard. That's why I like having really, really high HP. So even if you get super unlucky, you don't instantly die. But it is rough because if you have super high HP, it's hard to recover all that HP. But I think Ghost is good. I'm not gonna say broken, but I'm gonna say he's good. He just stresses me out to play. Loud is the first character I actually won with, so I'm a little biased. So 30% damage, 50% enemies, -3 harvesting at the end of the wave. So -3 harvesting at the end of every wave adds up. Like, you're gonna be losing, you know, by the end of the game, what, like 40 to 60 materials every single round, you know? This takes quite a bit of money from you. It doesn't take any experience, which is nice. So the upside of this, right? 30% damage is nice. The plus 50% enemies is a lot. So if you have something like the ethereal weapons again, you're going to have a lot more enemies to kill. You're going to be able to get scaling a lot more. Also, if you're this is like one of the few characters where I really like focusing on damage early on. A lot of times I like trying to set up a little bit of harvest, a little bit of luck, kind of get going. This character, I want all damage early on just to be able to kill everything, because all those enemies drop, you know, 50% more enemies means 50% more materials dropped, which is kind of what is offsetting that harvesting. So you're going to be getting a good amount of experience, a good amount of money in between rounds. And honestly, your damage is already pretty high. 30% is no joke. So if you get something like the ethereal weapons going, this guy might be able to scale them faster than anyone else in the game. And then maybe halfway through the run, you switch off the ethereal weapons into something a little more powerful, maybe some swords and SMGs, whatnot. Loud. I think Loud, I don't know if he's like S tier, but I definitely think he's good. I'm going to put him above Ghost. Next up, we have got Lucky. Lucky's probably my favorite character. 100 luck. All luck modifiers are increased by 25%. So I'm actually curious, do you start with 100 luck, or do you start with like 125 luck? You start with 125 luck, because the 100 there's a, you know, a modifier on the luck. Now this is why I like him. 75% chance to deal damage, which is 15% of your luck, when you pick up a material. So you just kind of like, I love the sub theme in this game of like different stats. Like luck is all kind of dumb stuff, right? Like the hat with the propeller is a lot of luck. Other things that generate luck is like dumb luck, you know, it seems to be kind of the theme that goes on with this stat. And so this character, you know, maybe not the most maybe not quite the entrepreneur, to say the least. But luck is just fun. This character is obviously insanely good at finding purples early on. Purples can really help shape your run. Now you're fighting that minus 50% EXP gain, so you are going to have lower HP than other characters for the most part. And you know, it is hard to get the levels do generate a lot of value early on, but I think he makes up for it for just having one. And then this passive to deal damage is great, especially as your luck gets higher and higher and higher. You could stack this with other items that have similar effects. Then you're just walking around picking up money the whole run. So I do emphasize getting things like obviously keep increasing your luck, and then getting things that increase your pickup radius too. I think it's really, really good on Lucky. I think Lucky, I'm gonna say he's S tier. Based off his ability to find insanely overpowered run defining items. Like if you find that item that's like you get 2% or 2 health regeneration for every -1 speed you have, you know, early on, you could just end up having like 50 speed or 50 HP regeneration, and you're like unkillable for until like wave like 14 probably. Sorry, who was next? Is this doing game capture or is this doing screen capture? Let's find out. It should just be screen capture. All right, next up is the Wizard. I think they're good. Like the downsides are pretty big, right? You can't use ranged, you can't use melee, you can't use engineering. The engineering is the one that kind of hurts because you could just find some items with engineering that just help kill thin out waves and generate more resources. It's not like that bad though. Obviously I think his biggest upside is the snake and sacred sausage starting. You don't need to find them, so it's like the burning thing spreads and you have a chance on every attack to burn. So like even though you have -100 range damage, you could just get like an SMG and the sacred sausage will ensure that you're burning things still. You'll probably even burn things faster than the wand, but you're not doing any initial damage. Then the wand has the advantage of doing damage when it hits because it scales off your elemental damage. Overall mage, I you know, not much to say about. He's really fun, but I mean I don't know, he's just like okay. He's definitely a pretty simple character, but because like if you play him 10 times, like how your runs aren't going to be different. That's why I like, even though he's fun like the first few times, I like these characters like Lucky and Entrepreneur that you could be you can adapt, you know, you go with the powerful items you find instead of having to get specific items. Here we got the guy with the thing. Who is this? Multitasker, bro. Multitasker is sick. 20% damage, so he starts off stronger than a lot of characters. Can equip 12 weapons and -6% damage for every weapon that he has. So I mean, it's really, he's not starting at 20% damage, right? He's starting at 14% damage because you're gonna have something equipped. But I really, really like this character with ranged builds, fast attacking things. So you can get a bunch of those daggers to increase your attack speed. That's okay. But you're doing kind of low damage then. The run I just did recently, was it today or yesterday? I don't know, with Multitasker, was all SMGs. And if I would have found miniguns, I would have upgraded there. But all SMGs, and the great thing about him is you only need a little bit, but if you get up to like 10 to 20% lifesteal, he is insane. SMGs are already good with lifesteal, right? Because it's every time it hits, it has a chance to proc. Then now you have double the amount of weapons, right? Lifesteal is really good because it applies to every one of your weapons. So for every 2% lifesteal you get, you know, most characters are actually getting a 12% equivalent because 6 weapons, but this character is getting a 24% chance, you know, over all their weapons to proc lifesteal. So you can hit that 30 HP a second. Is it 10 HP a second? This is one I forgot. There's a cap on lifesteal. It caps at 10 HP a second. You can hit that pretty easily. like over the course of the run, it's not too bad. The only thing you have to balance is not just picking up 12 weapons immediately. You know, try to kind of offset the damage, because you're gonna get way too low damage, right? You're gonna be at like minus 50% damage or something if you just pick up the first 12 weapons you see. And you know, having 12 weapons a hit for one aren't very good. So try to kind of balance it out, find things that increase your damage, and then take a weapon so you're not getting too low. But his initial boost helps a lot with that. I think Multitasker, I think he has potential to be S tier. I'm gonna put him in the top of good for right now though. But I do really like him. I think he's great. Sorry, who was next? Mutant. Mutant is it's a confusing character to me, because most of my mentality is that items are good, right? Items are very powerful and very good. This guy's items are very expensive, but 200% experience gain cannot be ignored. It's very easy to kind of get out of control with this character pretty fast. It's kind of tough. Like I felt very, very powerful, but never felt broken when I was playing this character. The advantage of leveling up and basing all your decisions around leveling up a lot is that you can more easily force what you get. You might have to reroll a couple times on the level up screen, but like it's pretty easy if you want to find like range damage up or whatever. You could reroll once, twice until you find a range damage up. You know, when you're trying to find good items, you might have to reroll. The pool's way bigger of what you can find. So this guy can get much more consistent upgrades for specific things. And I mean, it gets a lot of levels, but I feel like it kind of falls off later on. I know that this is one of my highest level wins here at level 3. The Ranger was rank 4, but it doesn't quite. I think it's just okay. I think I like it a lot, but I think it's kind of okay. It's just not as good as I was vibing. I think it'd be cool if he had a experience gain, but also experience gain multipliers get increased or whatever. That way, when you buy additional experience gain items, they will get slightly more effect out of that. I think that would be pretty sick. And kind of help signify that. Next up is Ranger. All right, here we go. So Ranger, and I would stay on just that screen, but I honestly don't remember the each of the characters' passives. There's a lot of characters, a lot of passives, so I'm gonna bounce between them. 15% crit chance, cool. 100 range, cool. You start with 1 pistol, that does not matter. All range damage modifications are increased by 33%. Now the downsides are you can't equip melee weapons at all, which is actually not. I mean, I like having 1 or 2 melee weapons. Even if I'm going with a range stuff, it depends, but typically you're going all in on a type of weapon, so you don't want to mix that much anyway, so it's not that big of a downside. All max HP modifications are reduced by 25%, so this character is just going to be easier to kill than other characters with low HP. But you could get your survivability from dodge, you can get your survivability from armor HP regen, you can get your HP regeneration, you know, from lifesteal. Now this is another character I think probably just works pretty good with like lifesteal, right? Because once you're doing ranged, there's a lot of piercing, a lot of fast attacks. The fact that the range is really high means you're going to be able to hit things at basically any point. So the way I run this character feels pretty darn good, pretty powerful. But it's kind of like the wizard in terms of doesn't seem like they're doing anything that crazy. The range damage modification is 33%. All right, you get a bit more damage. The bit more range is cool. I think the 15% crit chance might be the biggest buff here. Because that takes like, I don't know, that could take like 5 items to get, you know, or something like that. So that's pretty good. The 100 range is nice, but I feel like when you're going guns or something like that, you're already getting a pretty big bonus in range. And range is good, but this is one of those characters that I feel like just does really good depending on the items you find. Like there's a great item that's like all your projectiles bounce, all your projectiles pierce another enemy. Then you can increase the amount of damage they do when they pierce. So this guy is really, really good at killing a bunch of stuff. For me, they were kind of hard at killing bosses, but there is the laser gun, which does insane single target damage, but I didn't pick one up on my run, but I still ended up winning it. I think that, I mean, there's no doubt that the Ranger is good, right? All right, we're going to go through a little bit faster now. Sorry, I put the Ranger right here. Just because this video is already getting long and we have got a long way to go. All right, next up is the Generalist. We're not going to talk about him. The well-rounded. I mean, he's okay. I mean, he's probably a bit weak. Let me think. No, 8 harvesting is just kind of nice to start with. The 5, I mean, that it's really like the 5 speed is kind of nothing. I will say I got to put him at okay because he's got, I mean, that's just kind of inherently what he is. But I think that the fact that he's got no negatives is a pretty big deal. All right, now we got Crazy. 100 range with precise weapons, so he's that's like knives. 25% attack speed, and you start with a knife. So minus 30% dodge. I mean, that means you're just never dodging, I guess. 10 engineering, 10 range damage. I mean, so I think this guy stabs, right? That's what he does. He gets knives and he stabs really fast. The plus 100 range doesn't feel that good. I mean, I don't know. He just 25% attack speed is nice, but it's not like a huge deal. I'm just gonna slap him. I'm gonna slap him right in a bit weak. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna use that character again anytime soon. Bull. 20 max HP, 15 HP regen, 10 armor. All HP regeneration modifications are increased by 50%. And you explode for 300% of all these things when you take damage. You can't equip weapons. So this character is either insanely overpowered broken or absolutely trash. I am currently, based off my experience with the character, which is a couple runs, going with complete trash. And that's purely because it's like 10 rounds of you're a god, and then I just can't, even when I try to stack a bunch of survivability, you don't really want dodge because you're not really dealing damage when you dodge. In fact, you're not dealing damage when you dodge. Although I feel like this is a character that's super item specific, right? Like if you get the blood bag, deal 1 damage to you, and you're just constantly exploding, you probably just instantly win. Because then you can like stack up dodge, but I just can't survive by running into enemies. Even if my damage is high enough to kill them all, like the radius isn't quite big enough. You're taking just a bit too much damage in the later rounds, especially if you're trying to be pushing like, you know, difficulty 4 and stuff. It just feels, I think he needs a buff. Very fun the first time. Is this Chunky? Chunky, he's got a bunch of HP, right? Chunky, he's okay. I mean, I think he's a bit weak. HP is not that good. There's that item that deals damage based on the HP. He gets a bunch of HP, a bunch of HP, a bunch of HP, but then what you do when you have all that HP? You move on. Demon, not interesting. I don't have the demon unlocked. I don't know what he does. I haven't beaten the game on this difficulty yet, so we're not going to talk about that. All right, Medic. Medic is actually the one I'm most excited to kind of play again. 200% attack speed with medical weapons. Plus 5 HP regeneration, and your HP regeneration is doubled. That doesn't mean the stat is doubled. It means that you generate 2 HP a tick instead of 1 HP a tick. Plus 5 harvesting. So I really like starting with some harvesting. It just kind of, it means you don't need to invest anything in it. It just gets the ball rolling. It gives you a good amount of money over the course of a run, and experience. Minus 100% attack speed, but that means he actually has a plus, you know, base level, then an additional 100% attack speed with medical weapons. All armor modifications are reduced by 50%. That's okay. You can beat the game. If you have a lot of HP, you don't really need to worry about it. And he's the best at having a lot of HP. Not in terms of, you know, Chunky generates the most HP, but you heal it up the fastest, right? Because you could heal twice as fast as everybody else. Although, you know, the bull guy actually gets a 50% increase on the HP regeneration, but so you don't get bonus HP regeneration stacks. Like if you were going to get 10, you would still get 10, not 15 like the bull, but it does heal for twice as much. Medical weapons, it really comes down to how good are medical weapons, I suppose, right? You can't use anything that's not a medical weapon or engineering, like turrets and stuff. They're okay. The good one is the one that you can't start with here. There's the medical saw, the buzz saw. It has a lot of lifesteal, but it's melee. And instead of this, it's not a precise stabbing weapon. It's like a big sweeping attack. Does good damage. That weapon's pretty good. So I think you need to find those. The guns, it's like okay, it'll get you through the early game, get you a lot of kills, but I really think you want to focus on the melee build with him, especially because you're not as concerned with being in damage. You don't need to try to run away and shoot things. You kind of want to be in the face because you're healing a lot anyway. You're good. And honestly, you're probably in the high okay. I think the restriction of medical weapons alone is pretty big. Engineer. Engineer is one that's like incredibly weird because the +10 engineering is good. The engineering modifications increased by 50% is good. But the structures spawn close to each other. This one is kind of weird. It creates a safer spot on the map, but it makes the overall map not safer. If you're just doing engineering as any other character, the things just kind of spawn all over. And so it's true you have less of a fortress like built. You also are able to kind of run around the map a bit more because the turrets are killing things all over the map, instead of like them all sitting in one spot, creating a safe spot. I think the engineer, in some situations, I've found that his engineering is worse, or I wish they wouldn't all spawn at one spot, especially with the mines, where the mine just keeps spawning in the middle of my shit. I want him to be out there killing things. I do think he's good though, right? The engineering is good. Engineering's a little weak, but I mean, I like it. And having an extra 50% is nice. It's just, he was the character that I wanted to be insanely good, but I think he's just, I'm not going to say a bit weak. I think he's okay. I mean, he doesn't really have significant downsides. The damage modifications are reduced by 50%, but I mean, he could still always pull out a pistol and do some damage here, you know. Sorry for the jumping back and forth. I thought this would be a little smoother. I could always, you know what? Here we are. We already did it this way. We're not going to stop 27 minutes into the video. All right, here we go. We have got the Explorer. More trees spawn. Start with a lumberjack shirt. That's the thing that lets you kill trees in one hit. Also, I want to emphasize there's an item that makes more trees spawn. That is not as strong as this guy's passive. This guy makes a lot of trees spawn. A lot. 10% speed. Very good. You actually really need the speed as this guy because the map is huge. A lot of enemies, big map size, the 50% pickup range. Like, this is all really good stuff. Now, the downside is he has minus 40% damage. That is no joke. I wouldn't mind like an ethereal axe on him probably. But you're not really fighting enemies early on. Plus 10% enemy speed. How fast are you? That's, oh, so you and the enemies are all faster. That's kind of fun. Minus 50% materials drop from enemies. Like, that's pretty bad. So I think this character is actually pretty good. Trees are good. Trees have a great chance of dropping loot chests, which are free items or items you can convert into materials to buy other items. And there are a lot of trees spawn. They're also good for healing. One of the best ways to heal for most of the run, until you get your other forms of survivability up. He always kills them with one hit. I would probably end up going ranged with him then, not melee, even though I do like the ethereal axe to try to offset that damage with the increased enemies. But I also just want to get those trees dead. So I go early luck. I think you get like, try to get like 50 luck ASAP. And then as you break these trees, you should get a lot of chests, and that could help propel you into the future. But at one point or another, you're going to have to offset this 40% damage down, right? That's a big deal. And you want to be careful to not give yourself too many speed debuffs as you pick up items, because enemies are moving 10% faster. Overall, this character is interesting. They're kind of hard for me to gauge how good they are. I think that they are good, though. I think they're good. They're a little weird. It's definitely a little weird, but I like them. Farmer. Oh, baby. 30 harvesting. Harvesting increases by an additional 5% at the end of a wave. So instead of 5%, it increases by 10%. So you start at 30, which is huge, and then you get +3 at the end of the first turn, and it just goes from there. All damage modifiers are reduced by 25%. Not that bad. I mean, it's something, but it's not that bad. Minus 50% materials drop. Honestly, for me, it's simple. it might not be exciting. Easy S tier for me. Easy S tier. That is so much like there are choke points in the game where it's like you need to make sure you have certain power thresholds to kill things at these early stages. So you don't want to go all in on trying to like, I'm harvesting more and I'm harvesting more. I'm at 600 harvest on wave 7, because then you might die in wave 8, you know? So hold off, you know, don't be afraid to kind of start using that money to start stacking power pretty early, like wave 3, 4. Start trying to really get some good weapons, good damage early on. But probably start with a little bit of luck because the harvest takes care of itself. All right, now we've got the Gladiator. 15 attack speed for every unique weapon you have, plus 5 melee damage. You can't equip ranged weapons. So at 2 weapons, this guy has 0% attack speed. You know, it nullifies. Then you get another 3 weapons. You're at plus 45% attack speed. So I think the Gladiator is just better brawler. Like, you have minus 30 luck, which does suck. But you also you have the same attack speed boost, but with every melee weapon in the game instead of just the fist. And there's a lot of melee weapons that can be very good. You can have a very fun, diversified, hey kitty, amount of runs. Now, I do think the one, you can offset the attack speed down by getting attack speed stuff down, and the luck does kind of suck. I don't know if I even go that deep into luck. I mean, you still find good stuff, but I think the Gladiator is pretty darn strong. Melee could be a bit rough overall. It takes a little bit getting used to, I think, but I think Gladiator is, I think he's good. I think he's probably better than Lumberjack. I don't think he's quite as good as the Ranger, though. Knight, the best facial hair character. 2 melee damage for every 1 armor you have. Plus 5 armor. So he starts with 10 melee damage and 5 armor. You can't equip ranged weapons, so another melee-only character. You can only equip tier 2 weapons or above. This sounds weird, but it means only tier 2 weapons or above spawn. There's no gray weapons that spawn. It's all tier 2. Now, all attack speed modifications are reduced by 50%. That's pretty big, but again, it's a double-edged sword, where all of your downside, like, right, if you get something that's like minus 10% attack speed, it's actually only minus 5% because the modifier is on all the changes. So like that's like fine. He's never going to attack fast, and I won't lie, this can be an issue. This character has a lot of armor, but the issue I keep running into is when I get into the late stages where there's a lot of enemies that he just can't keep them all off of him. He's just swinging and he's killing everything in a hit, but then there's more right there before he could swing again, you know, because his attack speed is pretty slow. And if you try to get to 100% attack speed, right, you've only actually are going to get 50% of that. So you have to put a lot of effort into it in order to make his attack speed go up, and his harvesting is dead. He has no harvesting, which I actually like the flavor wise, right? Because he's a knight, and that's like whatever in medieval times that those weren't the ones who were harvesting. They weren't the farmers. I do think he's good, but I think he is a bit, I don't think he's good. I mean, I think he's probably a bit weak. One of my favorite out of these characters, he's definitely my favorite in the bit weak category. There's no doubt about that. All right, now we've got the Masochist. 5% damage when you take damage until the end of the wave. Plus 10 HP. Plus 20 HP regeneration. Plus 8 armor. Minus 100% damage. So this character is straight ass sandwich. This character needs buff. He fucking sucks. It is terrible. Terrible. Now, if you get the blood bag plus 40 damage or plus 40 harvest and takes 1 damage a second, then he's obviously like, he's probably go straight to S tier with that item. But if you don't find that item, he's shit. He's just crap. You don't get you have to purposely get hit like 20 times to get to 0% damage. And then if you want to get hit 40 times, if you want to double your damage, and you know how long it takes to get hit 40 times? It takes a lot. It takes a long time to get hit 20 times. Not to mention the fact that you have to heal in between that or you just die. I mean, he's obviously like very good early, but he's terrible at getting money early because he can't kill anything because the waves are short. There's not that many enemies, and he needs to get himself hit 20 times before he can start fucking dealing damage. I mean, after 10 hits, you're probably killing stuff pretty fast, but no, he's an ass sandwich. Old. This is the boomer character. Enemies are slower. We are slower. The map is smaller. There's less enemies, but he starts with +10 harvesting. Honestly, I really like the small map size on this character. I think it makes everything better because ranged weapons, and there's also just less enemies. I think this is the character you can go for like the no enemy run, right? There's like multiple items that give you less and less enemies. You can get the candle, it's -10% enemies. You can get the white flag, -5% enemies. I mean, realistically, if you're utilizing early harvest and doing a lot of rerolls, you might be able to get like -50% enemies on a map size. And this doesn't, he also is not any slower, and they're all the enemies are slow too. Gives you a better chance to use ranged weapons and stuff. I think old is good. I think old is just pretty darn good, actually. I think he's up there. These are kind of left to right, but not too, don't take them too seriously either. All right, we've got wide-eyed. Where's he at? There we go. One-armed, 200% attack speed. Huge. All damage modifications are increased by 100%. Huge. You can only equip one weapon at a time. That text should all be in red. That is a downside. 1/6 of the amount of weapons for plus 200% attack speed and 100% damage. I don't know. I mean, I like this character, but I haven't found something that works. I haven't found something that works on him yet. He seems bad to me. All right. Oh no, we're getting to the bad category. Gain materials and EXP for every living enemy at the end of a wave. Start with lumberjack shirt. Okay, so here's the thing. I haven't tried to do a full pacifist build yet. I try to offset the damage or whatever. And I tried to do something that wasn't really working. I think if you could just go all hands, all knockback, all survivability and dodge, like don't ever try to put a single point in damage because you could beat the final wave by surviving it. You don't need to kill the boss. I think this character has potential to be good, but I think if anyone deserves to be an uninteresting build, it's this guy. But I'm just going to put him in a bit weak. I mean, that's a very niche way to play the game, and not particularly fun, in my opinion. But it's something I haven't really tried, and it might be pretty viable to win. But I don't know. To me, that's like kind of like, why would you, you know? Or we got wide-eyed here again. Savor. 10 harvesting, plus 1% damage for every 30 materials you have, and you start the game with a piggy bank. That is huge. But items cost 50% more. So this guy's damage is going to be insane, right? It's not that hard to get to like 3,000 excess materials in your bank. The issue is this character does have a lot of money, but you never use it. And when you do use it, you feel bad because you're losing huge percent damage increases, right? So once you get up to 3,000 money, that's when you have 100% damage. So you have double damage. It's effectively like having 100% crit. I think this character has potential. I mean, piggy bank is a pretty, like, you can get insane amounts of money really quick. But the issue is if you're not spending any money in the early game, you're probably just dying. I think they're just okay. And they might even need a buff, but this is a character that I haven't quite figured out yet. I just die so frequently on like wave 7 to 13 that I'm just like, it's hard to judge when to spend the money, when to not, because the inflation is getting higher, so things are getting more and more and more expensive. But you can't find good rarity items early on. You can't really re-roll because you're losing damage. You can, but it's like not very good. So I think they're like okay, maybe a bit weak, but starting with the piggy bank is so powerful that I'm going to say they're at least okay. Sick. I like the thermostat in his mouth. I thought it was a cigar the first time I saw it. Like, oh, he's sick. 12 HP, 25% lifesteal, and you take a damage per second. I'm trying to think. I don't know if any items synergize with you taking damage. I know there's characters, but is there items? I don't think so. The 1 damage a second is pretty negligible. All you do is you play sick, you start with an SMG, and you're pretty much fine. You're never gonna worry about it. He might actually be one of the harder to kill characters. That minus HP regeneration, though, is huge. So you're always going to be doing lifesteal. The only issue with lifesteal is that it caps out at 10 a second. And so if you're going to need armor, you're going to want dodge. Because usually HP regeneration is good. It never gets up to 10 a second, but it's always nice to just kind of be there to stack on top of lifesteal. And lifesteal really only does 9 a second because you're taking a damage a second. I'm not super impressed with this character. I do think he's really, really hard to kill, but I think it's kind of hard to 25%. You're basically playing him for 25% lifesteal, which is a kind of a weird thing for a sick character. I know it's mostly the flavor is going to be there. I think he's just okay. I mean, he is really hard to kill, so I will give him that. All right, we're approaching the last 4 characters here. We have got Soldier. 50%, I like, is that a VR headset? Maybe. 50% damage and 50% attack speed while standing still. And then you have 200% pickup range. I love that. And 15 knockback. 15 knockback is huge. That is a lot of knockback. There are some enemies that I think they're immune to knockback, but that's huge. Because you'll knock back the ones and you'll kill the big ones. But you can't attack while moving. That is huge. That is pretty bad. I think this is a good character. I think you can absolutely make a build that you don't need to move on. The question is, can you get it before, can you get it done fast enough? But I've had builds where you don't really need to move, right? You could just do so much damage, everything. Range will help a lot with this guy. That way you could shoot him as soon as they spawn, shooty, boom, boom, boom. He's going in good for sure. I'll put him above the Ranger. I think he's a good version of the Ranger because the Ranger is trying to do what he does. He just does it a little bit better. The 50% damage is pretty huge. Like, that's a lot of stuff you're getting early on for free. All right, so we've got Sad Boy, this, and the Generalist. Okay. 30% speed, plus 1 melee damage for every 2% speed you have. Minus 100 armor when standing still, minus 3 armor always. This is the opposite of old. This is the zoomer. I don't have the reflexes to play this character. I think he fucking sucks. Every time you try to switch directions, if you stand still for a second, you're dead. It's like the Ghost, but doesn't have 90% dodge. The Ghost has a minus 100 armor. This guy doesn't always have to have minus 100 armor, but I feel like it's tough, man. I can't do it. All right. 25% lifesteal with primitive weapons. Primitive weapons only, huh? You start with a stick and you can't equip weapons above tier 2. I don't get why this character is supposed to be how is this not just worse than sick? Because you can get the HP regeneration, I guess. But you can't equip above tier 2 weapons. You have to use primitive weapons in order to get the thing. I mean, you could do the stick build with this character, but is that better? Like Wildling's probably, or not Wildling, the 12 armed guy, Multitasker, is probably just better with sticks because he can get 12 of them. Minus 3 melee and range damage. I mean, I don't think he's like god awful, but I'm comparing him to sick and he's definitely worse. So I'm gonna say he's a bit weak. And then finally we got Generalist. Generalist seems great. 2 melee damage for every 1 range damage you get, and vice versa. The downside is that you can only have 3 melee weapons and 3 range weapons at a time. To me, this seems like all upside almost. I mean, it's not an upside to only be able to equip 3 and 3, but it's really negligible. This guy just gets a bunch of free damage. Seems great, especially if you're just stacking range damage, right? For every 10 range damage, you get 20 melee damage. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, no, I got nothing else to say about this guy other than he's great. I don't think he's S tier good, but I do think he's maybe the top of good there. All right, so there's my official tier list of the characters. Keep in mind, this is the definitive official tier list. 45 minutes in, I got to go to work. Holy crap, that took longer than I thought. Let me zoom this in for you guys now. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Sorry if it was frustrating, but for those of you that are just watching here at the end to get the tier list, let's go and zoom that out. In fact, I'll even do this for me. There we go. Now you can see it. That's what I'm going to do for my thumbnail probably. Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to be playing more Brotato. If you disagreed with anything or everything that I've said, let me know. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.